Hello everybody, I'm Pontius, and welcome back again to Unexpected Awesome, to part 3 of our series on romance. One of the most important genres out there that utilizes romance to help develop its characters is probably the fantasy genre, and there's very few examples of romantic subplot that manage to be as compelling as the story of Guts and Casca inside of Kentaro Miura's extensive fantasy epic, Berserk. Berserk the Golden Age arc from 2012 is a trilogy of films that summarizes the world-establishing arc from his epic manga, and despite all of its flaws, it still manages to be an extremely memorable film series. The biggest strength that these films have is easily in its writing and its script. The story feels not only grounded yet fantastic, but also extremely focused, with each and every scene developing not only hugely important world-building details, but also important personal character development for the individuals in which the story actually revolves around. One of the best examples of these scenes inside of the Berserk the Golden Age arc films takes place near the end of the very first film. Guts is a mercenary who's been strong-armed to join the mercenary army of a charismatic peasant general. Charismatic general is not just fighting a war for the money or the glory, but also has his eye on securing the throne through the hand of the princess. However, elitist political rivals inside of the kingdom which contracts him has commissioned an assassination attempt on his life. Griffith deduces who sponsored the assassination attempt and proceeds to send his most trusted soldier, Guts, to take out the ringleader. He does so, but is discovered by the son of the aristocrat that he's just been sent to murder. After murdering his way through that son and a small horde of guards inside of the castle, he manages to escape with his identity remaining secret. Guts, traumatized by the arrow wound in his arm and the metaphorical murder of his own innocence, goes to report his progress to Griffith, completely oblivious to the fact that he's putting the moves on the princess to advance his political career. However, his rival for Griffith's affection, the only officer in the army that outranks him that isn't Griffith, Casca, proceeds to stop him. She says to him to wait till after he's done talking to the princess, so that way he doesn't embarrass him. She notices the wound in his arm and the oddly lost demeanor that he has, in grim contrast to his stark determination that he usually shows. She borrows the knife from his belt and cuts off the sleeve on her arm, and then proceeds to dress the wound on his arm. It's at this point that they both overhear a speech from Griffith about is that the only people that he'll really respect as friends are people that go by their own motivations and follow their own dreams. It's part of a recurring theme throughout the film, where dreams give us our direction, determination, and reason for living, and how if we don't do that and just fight to survive, shouldn't even try to be alive at all. This shakes Casca and Guts to the core, because it's at this point that they realize that all of their loyalty really doesn't mean much of anything. The news comes in that the prince of the kingdom has just been assassinated. Casca realizes that it's probably Guts due to the wound on his arm and the reports to Griffith, as well as the recent assassination attempt on Griffith's life. However, instead of reporting Guts to the authorities, she remains quiet about it. I love this scene. It's one of my favorite scenes across the entire trilogy of these films. This scene alone is an important brick in the cornerstone of the foundation of one of the most important plot developments across the entire series, which is the slow burn romance between Guts and Casca. It's really a classic kind of anime romance in the fact that these two characters, Guts and Casca, start out as rivals. They realize that they have to pursue their own goals and their own dreams. It's an important scene in the entire series because it's these two characters learning to realize that they have more in common with each other than they initially thought. So it serves as a foundation for a trust that builds later on in the series in the second film, in which they have to rely upon each other and they learn to trust and respect each other, which eventually turns into them caring for each other and finding value in being around each other, to them loving each other, and to the ultimate pain of the fate that they actually face. It's an incredible sequence, not just for the significance of the story of Guts and Casca and how it affects the Golden Age arc on the whole, but it's also an extremely tightly made scene technically. The animators, the editors, and the director himself pulled the boat out and created one of the most visually stunning scenes inside of the entire series. The animation in Egg of the King is probably some of the most hit or miss in the entire trilogy, and it's known for hit or miss animation. There's hardly a lick of noticeable 3D CGI inside of this scene, and almost everything is done in 2D and gorgeous, highly pretty fantasy detail. Kentaro Miura's art style, which feels a mixture of Boris Vallejo and H.P. Lovecraft shines in this scene with the absolutely beautiful mermaids of the water fountain, to the stately party attire of Griffith and Princess Charlotte, to the straightforward peasant and army tunics and cloaks of Guts and Casca. It's all incredibly beautiful, and it moves and grooves at a delightfully immersive pace. There's not a frame of this animation that isn't too fast or too slow. Finally, there's the sound mixing. The sound mixing is incredible. The tinkle of the water, the softness of the voices, and the music itself is all incredibly immersive. And the English translation script, as directed by Michael Sinterniklaas, is absolutely flawless. It captures the characters perfectly in a succinct, straightforward manner that feels like it's out of the fantasy genre, but is also incredibly comprehensible. Overall, this scene is pretty much one of the best scenes in the entirety of the series. It helps nail down an importantly beautiful and poetic arc of love, redemption, finding purpose, and ultimately losing a part of yourself. It's incredible, and I honestly can't highly recommend this enough. Pontius Portia signing off.